everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the 2004 live-action movie of Hellboy.
Yes, finally, Rascal.
Yes.
This movie was directed by Guillermo Del Toro and based on the Dark Horse comic by Mike Mignola. And it loosely adapts the first story, Seed of Destruction, with Hellboy learning about his true destiny. And he tries to stop Rasputin from destroying the world.
And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, notification on future podcasts and all the pause videos.
Absolutely. Join us for another Superhero Month podcast.
Yes.
We thank you for visiting the channel. We appreciate you so much. And let's get started.
Yes. And this one was a little hard to place sometimes because we keep seeing like two different ways they describe Hellboy. Some say superhero, some say it's horror and not superhero. When you look online, it's literally both. It's superhero horror.
Well, he's saving the race from monsters. He's a superhero.
Right. So it's like
powers that other people don't have. So yeah, he's a superhero.
Right.
I remember when I first learned about Hellboy, and it was actually from our Nana. She watched it, she loved it, and she called and she said, you know, I really want you to see this movie next time you come visit. And we went to visit, I should say, and watched it with her, and it was fantastic. She absolutely loved this movie. She watched it multiple times, and I can see why she really liked it. It was different from anything that was out at that time. Right. And truly, it is a superhero movie. And I put it in the same category as being like a trailblazer, like Blade was.
Right.
Hellboy was as well. This is
right.
a character that had a specific audience that knew about it. The general population did not, but became familiar with it when this movie came out. He's a good guy. He's supposed to be a bad guy, but he chooses not to be. And he's likable.
Yeah.
And personally, for me, Ron Perlman was perfect for this role.
Yes. And I saw this movie first time during a watch-a-thon type thing on our video on demand service. So one day I just finally sat down to watch it. And I think I saw the regular theatrical version because we own the director's cut and there are quite a few different things in there. So I watched the theatrical version and really ended up loving it. They didn't have the sequel, so I just stuck with the first one. And didn't see the reboot because I didn't know enough about it and probably should have stayed like that. So, ended up really loving the movie, and actually it made me want to go to the original comics.
And you became obsessed with Hellboy. I was really surprised how much you loved it. You told me you loved the artwork and the character, and then it was easy to get you gifts for the holiday. What did you get it for? The holiday or for your birthday?
I think both.
So I ended up getting you the two movies on Blu-ray, one on Blu-ray and one regular, and then ended up getting you the animated movies.
Right.
And that was easy because it's like, okay, she loves this so much. And then we went to the store and you started getting the comics. And again, I was really surprised at how much you ended up loving this character and this franchise.
Right. And watching the movie, knowing nothing about the comics or anything, it still did a good job adapting the comic. You can tell when you read the comic, it's really dark. And it depends on how much of darkness you can handle. And it's like, okay, you might want to take a break from this and not read all of it at once. But the movie kind of tones down the horror stuff. I mean, it still got the monster, still got the demon, still got monster and like supernatural. But they made it in a way where more people could watch it. It was PG-13, so some teens could see it. No kids should be seeing it, but at least older teens could, so it would be a wider range. And that was actually smart because there's a little bit of the cultic things in the comics themselves, and a lot of it's based off real things. So in order for it to pass in the movie, they kind of took out different symbols and names and things so that way they wouldn't be repeated after you see the movie, which was smart.
I was really grateful that Rasputin didn't pick up the movie like he took over the comics for a while.
Right. Yeah, because I think probably the worst part was that, and the villain was so irritating that even the creatures that he was trying to summon were getting tired of him and saying, look, you've tried 3 or 4 times, you keep failing, can you just go away? And yet, how new you have to be where the villains you're working with don't even want you to be around anymore?
Now, I was surprised when we saw Selma Blair did a great job, and so did John Hurt as Papa. And who was Abe Sapien?
I think Doug Jones. It was actually two different people. One was in the costume, and then one did the voice, kind of like with Darth Vader.
Okay.
But I think they credited Doug Jones for being in the outfit.
And I was surprised when I actually began to read the books that she looked totally different.
Yeah.
And the version they made for the movie is different and not canon to the comics. But she did a good job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it looked like the cast was loved so much that when they did the animated movies, they got 4 or 5 of the live action cast to do the voices of the characters again, which I thought was really great.
Which we will be covering in October for Spooktober.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
Yes. And with how the movie ends, you kind of assume they were going to adapt maybe each story at a time. It looks like there's 12 or less stories that are the entire thing about his destiny, and his destiny is to bring about the apocalypse. He's supposed to be the thing that comes in Revelation is supposed to end the world, and that was supposed to be his purpose, but he was raised to do good. So at every turn, whenever there's a creature or evil something, they're like, why are you fighting for humans? You're supposed to bring the end of the world, and you're trying to save it. And it comes up a couple times in this movie and a lot in the books where there's some monster creature trying to get him to turn, and he refuses to do evil, which is something they completely threw away in the reboot. So
Absolutely. And also in here, there was a relationship between he and Liz, which there isn't in the comics.
Right.
And
Maybe Del Toro shipped them.
omnibuses also.
Right. Maybe Del Toro shipped them or something.
So I can say it looks like for this live action version of the first and second movies, that was the canon shift, and it was different from what was in the books. And it did work though. You actually did like them as a shift in the movies. And again, she did a great job. She had the super blue flame power.
Right, instead of just
Not
regular orange.
Right,
Like,
she had blue flames. And Abe Sapien was really good too. I thought the costume and the makeup was done
very
fantastically
well. Yes.
for the time this came out.
Yes, it was only 2004,
Yes.
but that was pretty high quality. Everyone's makeup was very well done.
Same for Hellboy. We've seen the reboot. And the only thing I'll say is the makeup from 2004 far surpasses the makeup from 2019, and you would think it would be the other way around. But the makeup for Ron Perlman in this movie was fantastic. Again, it was 2004, and they really made an effort to raise the bar for special effects.
Right.
In terms of makeup, and I think they did.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think you're right. Not relying so heavily on special effects and CGI computers like a lot of movies do now, where everything is just CGI or AI generated. They don't even bother trying. This was a testament how well it can be done when you put a lot of time and care into it, and it really showed in here.
And the story was, as you said, a combination.
Right, it was like, I think it was supposed to be Sea of Destruction and Wake the Devil. They just kind of put both together and kind of had where the villain was defeated after one movie. I don't think they really were planning on bringing him back multiple times because how much of a nuisance he was in the books. They decided, okay, 1 or 2 movies tops, and then they were done. Because the second one didn't even involve anything from the comics. It was an original story, and it showed how different it was from any of the comics. It was a lot more family friendly with the sequel, and here it kind of stayed like it was verging between R-rated and PG-13, like it was in the middle of that. Like when a character got stabbed or something, there was no blood, which was much more preferable compared to what they do now with the graphics and things. I think that's more preferable because you kind of infer what's happening without it just being really graphic and on screen, and it's unnecessary because just knowing what happens is enough to be more shocking than just seeing it on screen because they think it's cool.
Now that being said, we know there are some people that are watching, like Sean, who like the graphicness, and that's okay. I sometimes prefer, as you mentioned, for it to be inferred, you not to see it, you kind of use your imagination, because usually your imagination, you're pleased with what you come up with. And they did that in here quite a bit. It had its violence, but I think it was the right amount. I think it was perfectly done, and it worked really well for this movie. I also like, again, John Hurt playing Professor Broom.
Yes.
Because he's fantastic. He was a fantastic actor. and I think he did it perfectly. And anyone else who tries to play this role probably isn't going to measure up, because
No.
he did it in a way that was understated but professional, but having that fatherly feel and transmitting that he loved, not transmitting, but showing translating, thank you, that he loved them, but it wasn't syrupy and overdone.
Right.
It was perfect. And also the chemistry between he and Ron Perlman, as the father-son dynamic, worked really well.
Right.
You're gonna have a hard time matching up.
Right. It even showed in the second animated movie. It was still there, so it was just, like you said, a great matchup. And another thing to bring up would be, you really don't hear criticism for it. You may now, because sometimes people's opinions change, or newcomers who have new movies, right, or newcomers that have newer movies and stuff, and they comparisons from then and now, and you can't help but do that. There are just times where I think for some they kind of just nitpick, where it's okay if you don't like it, but you don't have to say like, well, it was bad then, it's bad now, or something in between. And here, the only criticism I ever heard when it came to, in terms of reviewing, would be for Hellboy's personality, where it is that he acted too much like a moody teen. He didn't act like himself. But when you look at the comic, he kind of did act like that.
Yeah.
It was just the reboot that kind of made it like he didn't know what the heck he was doing, like he really was a kid. And here is that he ages slowly, so he's barely in his 20s. So he technically was young. And technically, he was kind of moody, because he was practically a teenager at that point. So to me, it fit. It's just that the stuff they were saying for this one, him being like angsty or emo, you can't tell me what to do, it's not a phase, Dad. That all came in that reboot. All that was in there. So I think the type of criticism for there is in the wrong place. Because here it just worked, because you got enough of his personality and stuff without ever having to read the comic or feel like you have to get a bunch of exposition to understand the character.
Absolutely. Now, as you've heard me say a million times, I love the Hellboy theme. It is truly, truly badass. I love it. I was so disappointed when we watched the reboot that they went with something generic. But the theme is absolutely perfect. You could tell that a lot of time was taken and a lot of thought was put into making this movie.
Yeah.
It really shows in every part of it. The
Right.
music, the cinematography, the makeup, the storyline, the casting, the portrayal by the actors. Everything. You could tell they really wanted this to be something that was a standout, that was going to be excellent, and that people would remember and would really, truly reflect the books as close as possible, but still be something a little different, as you said, so it could be more family friendly. I think they succeeded in that. It's, out of the 2 live action movies, this to me is the best one. And I would recommend, if you have not seen Hellboy for whatever reason, you've got to see it. You can buy it everywhere. It's probably on streaming. It's on Amazon. Check on your on-demand service. It's got to be on Prime. It's not on Netflix, unfortunately, I can tell you that. But if you haven't seen it, this is a movie you really need to sit down and watch. 2004 doesn't matter, because it ages well.
Yeah, definitely. And it feels like the types of movies you want to see be made now with superhero movies. And there's an oversaturation of Marvel and DC, who one spits out so much you can't keep up, and another one who keeps rebooting itself, and it has a different feel every time, and most of the time people don't like it. So with this, it's either something different, you have a different feel, a different type of character, different type of world, and it's nice when you see movies like that, whether it be made now or then, and you've never seen it before, and it finally doesn't, and you watch it, you don't think of, this feels like a Marvel movie, this feels like a DC movie, it just feels like a movie. And that's what you kind of miss when the movies weren't just trying to copy off each other's successes and replicate something that can't be replicated.
Absolutely. So if you've seen Hellboy, the first live action movie, let us know in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you not like it? Did you think it was okay? Let us know what you think. Also, if you've read the Hellboy comics, please share with us when you started reading them and what you think in the comments. Well, haven't seen it, again, this is a huge recommendation from Paws On Animation. You gotta see this movie.
Yes.
If you've never seen it, what you've been waiting for, you're absolutely gonna love it. It's gonna be different than you expect, and it's gonna far exceed your expectations.
Yes. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, music videos, your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation, and sometimes live action.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us today. Stay tuned for more awesome reviews. Well, I should say reviews of more awesome content.
Yes.
For Superhero Mom, which was created by Rasputin Entertainment. Check out her channel to see videos, mashups, and more by herself, as well as more Rasputin family members. You're really going to enjoy just being submerged and immersed in superhero for the month of July.
Right. So, thank you so much for watching Rasputin Entertainment.
And I'm on Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.